hello. We've got a friend today. Hello, how are you? And welcome back if you are returning, and if you are new, then hi, and thank you very much for joining. I don't know what she's doing. Don't knock anything over. If you think today, oh, she's looking quite glowy. No, I have not been jetting off on my holly bags. That would have been lovely. But I did use a little bit of a fake tan spray last night. So I feel like I've got a little bit more of a tan. I also used vitamin C last night. Just saying. So I feel like I look a little bit more radiant. Anyway, this video is going to be all about moisturization, hydration, that kind of thing. I did say before that I was kind of working my way down the list of the ordinary things, and there are a lot that comes under the section of oils and hydrators. So I am not going to go into every single product individually. Firstly, because I have not tried enough to be like speaking. You know, it's okay when you've maybe tried like 3 or 4 out of 5 items, but when you've only maybe tried 1 or 2 out of 10. I don't want to be like just sitting telling you all about them when I've never used them. So today I'm going to go over moisturisation as the umbrella term that it is. We'll probably talk about emollients, occlusives, humectants, treatments, oils. We'll talk about that kind of stuff. If that sounds like your cup of tea and you're into that, then please keep watching. So actually today is supposed to be the hottest day of the year in the UK. I would beg to differ in Scotland, to be honest with you. There's still clouds in the sky. There was nicer days back in April, to be honest, when we were on full lockdown. And, you know, I should have known better. It wasn't going to be as nice as I thought. Moisturisers, where to start? What do you like? Some people hate heavy moisturisers. Some people hate using moisturiser at all. They prefer gel type moisturiser. They prefer an oil, etc, etc. I'm not going to go into super duper individual stuff like that, but what I am going to do is talk about the umbrella term of moisturisation. To be honest with you, moisturising, we need deep moisturisation, like deep hydration in our skin, as well as top layer moisturisation. As I have said before in a lot of these videos, the best thing you can do to make sure that your skin is good is drink lots of water and have a healthy, balanced diet. Work your skin from the inside out. I'm not sitting here preaching like I don't like the odd takeaway, because I fucking absolutely do. But if you are making sure that you're getting a decent, balanced diet and hydrating yourself with plenty of water, that's the best place to start. So by doing that, you should essentially be getting your deep hydrating in the bottom layers, and by moisturising with a product on the top, you should be getting your top moisturisation. Now, what comes under this umbrella term of moisturising? Emollients, occlusives, therapeutics, humectants, ceramides, lipids, oils, sorbitals. I could go, like, I could tell you about 1,000,001 things. And so what are the aims of using all of these products? Essentially, we use them to repair and maintain the skin's barrier. The reason we need to do that is to stop something called transepidermal water loss. Whoa, the sun just got really bright there. Apologies, it's gonna happen. I don't have a light set up and it's a nice day, so this is to help assist with transepidermal water loss. What does that mean exactly? So we have our very top layer. On our very top layer we have the epidermis, and then we have the dermis underneath, which is the second layer. But on that top layer we have something called the stratum corneum as well, and on the top layer, that is the area where if your stratum corneum or your epidermis is damaged and broken, things can either get in and irritate us, or water loss can escape. Water loss can escape? What a shit way to explain it, Alara. If you're thinking about a puddle in the road, so let's say like today, it's a really nice sunny day, but it rains. Freak rain shower happens sometimes, especially in like other places in the world. You have freak rain shower, you've got a puddle, then the sun comes back and the heat of the sun sits there and the puddle evaporates and it's gone. It's kind of the same as that, not exactly the same. If anybody done chemistry in high school, or biology in high school I should say, osmosis. Water moves from areas of high water concentration to low water concentration. It doesn't work the other way. You can't go up the way, otherwise the cells will burst. It moves from places where there's really hydrated cells to other ones that aren't quite as hydrated, and that happens throughout the body constantly all the time. So you can find that if you have breaks in this top layer, this lipid barrier that we've got on our face or on our body as well, if you have breaks, you will have dehydrated skin because the water will be escaping out from these areas and you're almost evaporating. That is the best way I can try and put it. So let's talk about emollients and occlusives to start with. Emollients are things that are more like a lotion, like you might put on a nice moisturising body lotion when you come out of the shower. Emollients are more water-like, they're more liquidy. To be honest with you, they are really more for maintenance rather than repair. So if you come out the shower and you're thinking, okay, I've come out the shower and put my body lotion on, great. It's just maintaining the skin barrier you already have. If you have really dry and damaged skin, then you're going to need something heavier than that. It isn't necessarily going to stop that transepidermal water loss. It isn't going to repair really dry and damaged skin, so you might have to look into something a little bit heavier. If you have really itchy, flaky skin, a lotion is probably not going to resolve that. But if you do already have relatively healthy skin, it should maintain it. Now, what are emollients? Things like oils, lipids are emollients. Lanolin, you can get mineral oil as well. Mineral oils had a bit of dubiety around them, worried that they weren't safe for human, not consumption, that means eating it, application. But to be honest with you, that's all been rebuted, like rebucked now, rebuted. Is that a word, rebucked? Rebut, rebuted, rebuttal, I don't know. It's been said it's a lot of shite, basically. Mineral oils are absolutely very safe to use on human skin. And as I'm saying, like, it's something that you should do kind of as you come out the shower. I think I've said this before, if I'm putting something on my face, I always would spray it with water before I put on like a humectant or something like that. And it's kind of the same when you're coming out of the shower. Your body lotion, you should try and put on when you still have relatively damp skin. Also with occlusive things, you should try and put it on while you've still got relatively damp skin. For occlusives, moving into that is something that is much more heavy, much thicker, very emollient, and I've just spoke about them. The reason I say that is because I work in a hospital, and if you're working with people who know anything about tissues and skin, the word emollient is used quite a lot. But emollient is definitely something to maintain skin rather than to repair it. Occlusives are there to really help repair that barrier, and it's not necessarily because they are a treatment thing either. The thing is, if you go into Boots or Superdrug and you're looking at the skincare, whether it's, sorry, I've got hair on my lip. Oh, that was annoying me. Whether you're looking for something for your body, for your face, if it's your body, you're going to be looking, you pick it up, you're sniffing it, you're like, the Body Shop for instance do lovely body butters, and you're like, oh that smells nice, I like that, blah blah blah. But it's very rare that people are going to go and look over in the pharmaceutical section of skincare, and you can get things like Epiderm, Diprobase, Dermol, what's the other one that used to come in the big pump? Oh, I can't remember. So these are all like really medical type of skincare, but it doesn't mean to say they have anything medicinal in them. They are just really good emollient products and really good occlusive products to help people who have things like dermatitis and eczema and rosacea and all these things that cause real irritation and dry flaking to the skin. They don't need to be prescription only, although you could get them on prescription if you go to your doctor and you're like, look, this is going on, I've got something going on with my skin. People with eczema probably do have it on prescription because, I mean, if you've got a chronic illness like that, then, you know, you shouldn't have to pay for it. But you can go and pick them off the shelves and buy them. But they're not in pretty packaging. They don't have any fragrance. They don't have anything fancy about them. So people are less inclined to do it. But things like this, like a Vaseline for instance, that's probably the best one I can give you as an example. Things made out of petroleum. dimethicone, maybe beeswax as well, although you would have to look, if you're vegan, obviously that wouldn't be an option for you. Olive oil as well, although I would say use with caution, because I believe that olive oil can be kind of, some plant oils, plant and floral oils can be quite irritating and not the most fantastic for your skin, and I know a lot of dermatologists would kind of say just give that a miss. It's basically putting a barrier on your skin, not only to stop that transepidermal water loss escaping from the skin, but also putting that barrier on to stop anything getting into the skin. That lipid barrier, again, sorry about the sun, that lipid barrier from not being broken and flaky and able to, like, little things get in and irritate already relatively sensitive skin. It's like a sealant almost. Now they are generally kind of more ointment based, a bit more greasy. So am I going to slather something like that all over my face? Probably not. I have done that before, like as a treatment thing, because if you've got something on and you want to like really lock that in, then yes, you could use it. Things like Vaseline people use on their lips all the time. Places like around your cuticle where they might get really dry. I'm a terrible one for biting round my nails. This, actually they're not so bad at the moment, but this one, as you can see, I've taken a few chunks out of recently. Anxiety. Yeah, when I get more anxious, I pick at my nails, so putting heavy occlusive things around areas like that can be really, really useful. But people who have really acne prone skin, or people who have really sebaceous skin, again, might feel they don't want to put something that heavy on their skin. It would just be too much for them, and I understand that completely. They might feel that's almost pore clogging. Now I'm not saying that occlusives or emollients will do that, definitely, but occlusives are thick and heavy and they may slip into the pores because that's what they're doing, that occlusive sealant job. Now I'm not saying that occlusives block pores, but people who already have quite like sebaceous skin might feel that clogging up the pores causes more issue for their skin, but it's very much a personal, individual thing. I'm not saying that people who have oily skin shouldn't use oils, because I've seen a lot to suggest that actually using an oil when you have acne prone skin is actually quite good. What I would say as well is that oils aren't necessarily occlusives. It's quite difficult. So some might be, but an oil is still thinner than that of an ointment. It's not as thick and heavy. And some oils aren't necessarily moisturising. I'm using that moisturising umbrella term again. Oils aren't necessarily hydrating. That's what I mean to say. They're not necessarily hydrating items. So they do go on a little bit more like an emollient. They kind of just keep the maintenance of your skin going, and they can maybe keep the glow in your skin if you like that look. I've got my sunscreen on today and I think I'm looking a little greasy, but it doesn't really bother me. But they might give you that kind of more dewy glow. Some oils are actually really, really good for the skin, but lots of them equally are not so great for the skin. So I would say oils are not necessarily an occlusive agent, even though throughout this I've maybe said, not this video, but throughout a series I've maybe said that oil and water thing, like they don't mix, doesn't mean to say that oil is an occlusive barrier, because yes, it might kind of smooth everything over, and it might even help with some kind of transepidermal water loss, but it's not necessarily going to be as thick and heavy and cause that sealant effect that an occlusive has. Oils kind of sit in the middle somewhere, and I think oils are something like you really have to work out for yourself and decide whether or not you like. For a long time I thought I really, really don't like them. It's not for me. Even though I'm someone who would classify myself, I have slightly more dry skin and I like that dewy look, some oils I felt were just too heavy, but now that I've found a couple that I really enjoy, I will continue to purchase them because I like the lighter feeling ones. So what are we putting on underneath our occlusive or our emollient? Now, as I say, I feel an emollient is maybe something that's more like a lotion. It's something that I would be more inclined to put on my body. If you are using something like a body butter from the Body Shop, then that could be more of an occlusive agent, maybe a nice shea butter or something like that. I feel the skin here is probably neglected from the skin on my face, I have to be honest. Especially like, you know, every year the sun comes out and you're like, oh, moisturization, like maybe you've got a bit of a tan, maybe you put some self-tan on, you've been on holiday, you've got like your arms, your legs out, whatever. So you're moisturizing these areas quite a lot. You come home, you do it for a further 2 weeks, and then you kind of forget about it. And I am particularly bad with it when it comes to winter time, when it's probably the time I need to be doing it the most. I am terrible for it. But I would probably say, again, when you come out the shower, best to do it onto damp skin straight away. That will help lock in a lot of the good ingredients within the... Sorry, my cat was going crazy there. Lock in a lot of the good ingredients. Now that's kind of where we move on to humectants. Now what is a humectant? With regards to body moisturization and body lotions and body butters and occlusives, you might find that these pharmaceutical type ones that I tell you about that nobody's really picking up because they don't smell like peaches or something like that, if you look at them, they probably have humectants in them already, like a glycerin, or hyaluronic acid is probably the one humectant that we hear the most about at the moment. But these kind of more medical ones aren't marketing saying this is the most hydrated thing ever, because they don't feel they need to sell that way. They are obviously bought via prescription a lot of the time. Here in the UK it might be very different in the US, where you know you do have to buy medications, so it might be slightly different over there. But I feel here these products are not marketed the way they are in other countries, and for that reason, if you look at a lot of your really basic moisturizing body moisturizers, they will probably have a humectant in it. They will already have an emollient in it, an occlusive in it. So what you want to be doing when you're coming out your bath or your shower is smoothing that on and letting all those ingredients that are already in a lovely formula packaged ready for you to use sit on the skin, but also the humectant ingredient will sit there and hold the water where you just came out the shower and there's some on your skin, but also the occlusive ingredient will lock that in. So I think it's really important that we do try to moisturize our body and not just ignore it. I am terrible for it. I am, hands up, one of the worst people in the world for it. I do quite like a body oil. And again, like, although that isn't a super duper occlusive thing, at least I'm doing something rather than nothing. And if it's something that I enjoy using and I'm more intended, like I have more intention to pick it up, then so far I've been using body oils or sprays at the moment. But I really should get into using a good body moisturizer and not necessarily the scented kind. Maybe a nice one from, you know, your likes of Cetaphil or CeraVe and things like that. A bit more of a skin loving dermatologist type one, but I am yet to find that. So humectants, as I've already said, the one we probably know the most about is hyaluronic acid, but you can get others such as glycerin, sorbitol, urea, sodium lactate, lactic acid. That's a new one on me, but I will tell you about that in a minute. These all basically, they can either be treatment or maintenance. So you can use it as a treatment, or you can use it as maintenance every day just to help hold on to that water in your skin. It keeps the H2O on the surface of the skin in that kind of stratum corneum epidermis layer. It draws water from the dermis, that's the second layer, up to the epidermis, and it actually increases the level of moisturization in that crust, the stratum corneum. That helps with the kind of layer. Maybe you won't even see it. Maybe if you look at your skin you think my skin's quite smooth, but you'll have like a layer of dead skin cells, and that is essentially what could cause flaking and dryness if you didn't get rid of them. So it helps with the moisturization and that layer. But something that I found that was very, very interesting is that an AHA, that's an alpha hydroxy acid, is actually also classified as a humectant. I would never have thought. That's why I mentioned lactic acid. So an AHA, an alpha hydroxy acid, I would always class as an exfoliant, but it kind of makes sense. If you are putting an alpha hydroxy acid on, then you're trying to de-slough. I think the name is actually desquamination or something like that, because you have squamous cells and you're getting rid of that dead cell layer. By doing that, you're not only meaning that this flaky dry bit comes away, and that helps it to become less prone to cracking and chafing and things like that, but it also helps with ceramide production, and that helps keep the moisturization and that skin barrier, that lipid barrier, intact. Who knew? I did know that lactic acid done that, but I just never would have thought of it as a humectant because it doesn't hold water the way that hyaluronic acid does, but the two of them work together really, really well and are actually both classified as a humectant. So things like hyaluronic acid, they are more inclined to hold water. I have explained this before as well, that basically it's something that can hold something like 1,000 times its water. That's not for definite, please go and research. But if you have 1 drop of hyaluronic acid, it will be able to hold maybe 1,000 drops of water, let's just say for saying sake. So it draws water to it and it holds onto water. The thing about things like this is, if I was to come out of my shower, I've washed my face, I've sprayed my face with my little face spray, I put on my hyaluronic acid, and then I put nothing else on top, what would be likely to happen is the water that I've sprayed in my face, the water that is there, will evaporate. And the hyaluronic acid will stay on my face and sit there thinking, I need to draw water from somewhere else. I need moisture. I need to do that drawing water thing. Now, if you live somewhere like Scotland, where it's fucking raining most of the time, that might not be quite such a big issue. But if you live somewhere that's a really dry and arid kind of environment, or maybe you even work somewhere where there's a lot of aircon, stuff like that, then you might find that would actually draw the water out from your dermis, or there's things to suggest it can't draw that far, but the epidermis is going to draw the water out and up, and it, you know, I said this before when I spoke about hyaluronic acid, there's lots of things to suggest that unless it is in an injectable form like a filler, then it isn't actually going to do what it says. But there's a lot to suggest that it actually, the theory of it works really well, so that's why we use topical hyaluronic acids. So if you're in a really dry country, a really arid desert type of country, then it may draw the water out of your skin rather than it's like actually like sitting on top and it evaporates like the puddle. Now, if you use an occlusive or an emollient, and I'm saying like the emollient is obviously there for maintenance, but a nice occlusive, I'm not saying you put Vaseline all over your face, but something of a moisturizer with that slightly more heavy property, and that's because I like a heavier moisturizer, or maybe you put an oil on top of the hyaluronic acid, then hopefully you would sandwich it, and that transepidermal water loss that the hyaluronic acid is holding onto sits on top of the skin but underneath this occlusive barrier rather than escaping into the environment, and that means your face should stay nice and plump and hydrated and the skin should stay nice and smooth. That is the theory. So humectants can serve a dual purpose. They stimulate cell growth, but they also hold on to water and help with hydration. But they can also be classified as an exfoliant because they are getting rid of those dead cells that we no longer want. Other things that are humectants, like natural humectants, things such as aloe vera, honey and like you get good hydrators from marine life. I don't mean we go and get sea animals and grind them up, that's not what I'm meaning, but the marine hyaluronics from The Ordinary is a brilliant example of that, and as far as I know their formulation is vegan, so it is not going to be endangering any kind of sea life or marine life and getting seaweed from them. So that basically is classified as a hydrocolloid. I've heard about this word quite a lot in my work because a lot of dressings for wound management can be hydrocolloid dressings, and that means that they act like a humectant. It means that they keep the hydration there, but they also aid wound healing. And honey is a massive one. Now there are lots of weird and wonderful things like on TikTok and Instagram and all these places showing you how to make homemade face masks, you know, squeeze a lemon in, put the sugar in. Don't do that, please don't do that. It's not a good idea. But if there was anything natural that I would say is definitely a really good humectant and is safe to put on your face, honey is one of them. It's really, really good, and it is a completely natural humectant. Although I don't think I could be smearing honey all over my face and going in and about my day But if you wanted to do it as a kind of mask treatment, a really bad area of dryness or something, you could make up a little kind of honey mask and put it on. Maybe you've got a really plain moisturiser, add a little like half a teaspoon of honey into it, put it on as a mask, and then, you know, wipe it off, moisturise it in. Honey is very sticky, so I'm not saying like you can just let it settle onto your skin, but you could use it as a bit of a treatment. What I would also say is it's important not to wash these things off completely. A lot of companies and a lot of brands will give you a face mask and a moisturising face mask, and they tell you to wash it off at the end. Completely fucking baffles me, because what is the point? You've basically just washed off the product that you're wanting to keep yourself hydrated. The one here from Boots is really nice, and this is the Instant Results Nourishing Hydration Mask for dry to very dry skin. It's one of my favourites, but you don't need to wash it off. You can let it soak in, and you will actually physically see it soaking into your skin, and then the excess you can kind of dab away with a cotton pad if there's too much, or just rub it into your skin. There is no point in like putting these things on. The Glossy Moon Mask is another one. I think they suggest that you wash it off at the end. I would be much more inclined to put a nice thick layer of that on at night and go to sleep. Now, I'm not talking about Mrs. Doubtfire pie face type of mask, just a nice thick layer, so you know you can kind of see it's there on your skin, but it's not like that thick. And you put that on and go to sleep with it at night and wake up with a beautifully moisturised face. That would be my suggestion. Anyway, we've kind of went on to face masks there. We've went a bit off topic, but that is what a humectant is. It is something that holds water. It is something that aids hydration, sometimes aids wound healing, and sometimes aids exfoliation and ceramide production. Now, I'm just going to briefly squeeze in here therapeutics. Now again, that's something that's probably more inclined to come under your pharmaceutical part of your Boots or Superdrug. But these products, as I say, are usually formulated to aid specific things like dry skin, eczema, dermatitis. And for that reason, I would see them as therapeutics, although they are not medicinal. I know in America, again, you can go and buy active ingredient stuff like stuff for acne or retinols and things like that. You can literally buy it over the counter, or go and see your dermatologist and buy it from them, ask what they suggest. That doesn't really happen here in the UK so much. So I would say therapeutics in the UK isn't something that we see quite so much, but we can still see it in the sense that there are these products that are specifically looked at for medical issues, but they don't necessarily have anything in it that needs to be prescription. I just want to throw into that as well, natural moisturising factors is something that we've seen from The Ordinary, and The Ordinary like sell their moisturiser as natural moisturising factors. But natural moisturising factors is actually a terminology that is used in skincare and dermatology and cosmetics, cosmetology. And basically it means that we have this natural moisturising factor on our skin that our skin naturally does. This is to do with the lipid barriers and all that kind of stuff. There's your ceramides, your lipids, etc. Your lactic acid, because you also make that yourself. So all this stuff is a natural moisturising factor, and I think that when you see that in skincare and beauty, like, it's probably marketed that way to make it sound a little bit more like, ooh, like natural moisturising factor. But actually it's been proven as well that using things that are naturally, like the closest to natural moisturising factors, doesn't necessarily mean that it's any better. Because for instance, if we talk about wounds again, your body can repair itself. You could heal a wound by yourself, but if you have a dressing that is going to aid and speed that up and make that wound healing better, then why wouldn't you use it? So when I see natural moisturising factors, it is a thing that we already have and we already do, but does it make it any more like, oh, this is good because this is what the skin does? I don't want it to do what the skin does. My skin already does that. I want something that's going to make it even better. So again, something else just to think about. Anyway, ceramides. Ceramides are basically the most abundant lipid that we find within that skin barrier. They help keep the barrier intact. They help with transepidermal water loss. And the thing about ceramides is, like, one of my favourite face washes is by CeraVe. CeraVe are a brand that kind of pride themselves on ceramides, and because they use 3 essential ceramides in their products. And that's all fine and well, but the marketing behind ceramides is that there is no scientific basis to tell us that we need a certain amount of ceramides, a certain ratio, a certain proportion to aid the skin. So that can make it a little bit muddy. It can make it a little bit like, So what I'm saying here, I suppose, is I really like CeraVe. I find them to be very affordable. I really enjoy their face wash. I like some of their moisturisers as well. And I would buy their stuff. But if I seen something that was like, oh my god, this ceramide complex, and it's £150 and it's going to repair your skin like a baby's backside, then no, I'm not going to buy it. Because there's absolutely no evidence to suggest that having more or a higher percentage of ceramides in a product, or having these certain ceramides in a product, make it any better than one of your kind of pharmaceutical type products that you would use for eczema, or a CeraVe type product. I feel like CeraVe, La Roche-Posay, brands like that, Cetaphil probably as well, are in between that. Like, they're not quite, you know, for medical things, but they're not quite purely beauty skincare either. They're kind of in the middle. So I feel like with regards to this, that is probably where I would go classic, like medical reasons why you want to buy something, or those kind of pharmacy brands. I wouldn't go to beauty stuff. If I had, like, I don't know, fucking Clinique, let's just use them because I couldn't think of anything else there, telling me that their new complex of ceramides and it's 90 quid. No, fuck off Clinique. I don't need it, I don't want it, and no thank you. So basically your stratum corneum, that's the outside layer, the crust of your face. That makes it sound gross. But the crust of your face is made up of like brickwork. So imagine, like, I wonder if I can put something here. I might draw something. We'll see. Maybe not. So it's made up of brickwork. Now the bricks are corneocytes, and they're made up in this like double layer of bricks. So the bricks are the corneocytes, and the concrete, the bit in between the bricks, is your lipids, your like ceramides, your free fatty acids, your cholesterols. They have all this stuff, this like stuff floating about. So you do need ceramides to be there to help with the maintenance of your stratum corneum, that outside layer, and keeping everything inside and keeping everything outside. But as I say, you don't need to go super fancy with this. You really don't. And I would just stick to cheap and cheerful. They're going to work regardless. And again, just make sure you're eating the right stuff. Now, to round up this video, I thought I would speak about oils in particular, because again, it's something that we see a lot of nowadays. The Ordinary, I can't even count how many oils they have now. It is unbelievable, and I've only tried 2 of them. So, oh well, 3 if you're including squalene. But basically, what are these, like, what is the difference? Why do we need different ones? I'm going to talk about squalene first because it's probably the most kind of interesting one, to be honest with you. It's a hydrocarbon, if I remember rightly. I'm trying to think back to the original Ordinary video I done last year. It's a hydrocarbon. It's something that we do make naturally in our body, and it can be found in plant life and animal life as well. But basically, squalene with an E needs to be hydrogenated into squalane before we're putting it on our faces or is in our body. Now, as I say, you can find squalene in olive branches, you can find it in rice bran, you can find it in sugarcane, and it was found in shark's liver as well. And I think that now that is something that you don't see so much of. I know for a fact the Ordinary one is vegan, so that wouldn't be the case with them. Olive branches, as I say, not olive oil. That is different because they're from the actual olives. It's from the olive branches, the squalene. And it needs to be, you know, hydrogenated or whatever it is. They do something sciencey. I don't know whether they crush it up. I don't know whether they press it. I don't know whether they burn it. I genuinely don't know. And make it squalane. And that is the stuff that we put on our face. And it's like a plant-based kind of oil version, a hydrocarbon that we already have in the body, and it actually works really, really nicely as a kind of emollient layer. The reason they need to do that is because squalane is a more stable molecule, but it does still need to be in a dark glass bottle. If you're going to use it, it can still degrade. And squalene has been shown to have really good antioxidant properties as well. Again, if you think that that is solid science, then you really want antioxidants, then it has that too. They also provide a demi-squalene, I've noticed as well, which I haven't tried, but I have seen people say that that is more useful to those people who have really oily skin or acne prone skin, because as I've said already, you don't necessarily want to be putting a really heavy oil on your skin when you already have sebaceous and oily acne skin. So the demi-squalene might be something that you would be more inclined to use. Now, plants and plant oils. There's a lot of kind of good, bad, ugly with regards to this. What I have to say is that plant oils, they have like an emollient effect, they have a brightening effect, a smoothing effect. Oils have that, but they aren't necessarily moisturising, they aren't necessarily hydrating. That's what I'd said at the start of the video, and I still stand by that. They're unable to penetrate the skin deeply because of their makeup, and they also don't form that super occlusive barrier like other products to completely stop transepidermal water loss. So why would we use them? That is the question. Personally, I like to use oils in facial massage. I'm not saying facial massage has a lot of scientific backing behind it. There is bits and bobs, and actually I don't think there's anything wrong with giving yourself that time of self-care. I think that's really good. So that is generally what I would use an oil for. Sometimes I do mix my vitamin C powder in an oil as opposed to water, because sometimes it's just nicer, it just goes better together. And I do enjoy that as well. If I don't want a really abrasive, if my skin just isn't feeling it that day, I'd probably just skip out on the vitamin C, to be honest with you. But if I felt I wanted to do it and I thought I don't want to go too irritant, I don't want to go too abrasive tonight, then I would probably do it with an oil instead. Oils have, especially plant oils, have bioactive molecules which are really good for inflammatory purposes, like to stop inflammation. They help with wound healing and kind of surgical wounds. That's probably why you see like bio oil. Remember bio oil? It came out years ago, and it was to help with scars and kind of wound healing and things like that. The thing is, it depends on how you are getting the oils. If you see, and I think the most on the ordinary are cold pressed oils, that's really good because it keeps those bioactive molecules stable and keeps them as they are. But if you're getting oil by heating something, then you might actually be doing a disfavour, and there'd be no point in doing it because it will be an unstable molecule and it won't do what it's supposed to anymore. So the other thing about oils is they are made up from either high amounts of linoleic acid or oleic acid. Now, it depends on the oil. I'm going to go through a couple here because I don't want to go through them all, but things that have high oleic acid actually can make transepidermal water worse. Transepidermal water loss worse. Things with linoleic acid are really quite good because they help with ceramide production. So I think that's something that's really important to remember, because I have seen some very big beauty skin YouTubery people saying, oh, this is rich in oleic acid, and I was really shocked to see that, because I was like, well, actually, if that makes transepidermal water loss worse, then why are you flogging it? Like, do you know what oleic acid is though? And I maybe what I read, I've just read one side of the coin. Maybe there are other things to suggest that actually oleic acid is better than linoleic. But so far what I can see, if you're going to use an oil, you want one with linoleic acid as opposed to oleic acid. That's all I know. If anybody knows different, please let me know, because I'm always about the learning. So argan oil is one thing that I've seen someone talking about. How often do we see the Moroccan argan oil? Great for your hair, great for your nails, great for this, great for that. Like, all of a sudden everything had argan oil in it. But all of those medical claims, they are on consumption-based research. Like eating the oil, not using it topically. So it's very good for marketing to be like, oh, it does this, this and this. Yeah, well, that's if you fucking drink the bottle. That, by the way, I'm not suggesting you do that, but that's not you just putting it on your skin and being like, yeah, this is going to do this. Again, I think if I'm right, argan oil is one that has quite a lot of oleic acid in it, so I would probably swerve away from it. With regards to the hair stuff, like I remember people being like, put it on the ends. Yes, it might coat the hair and make it seem more smooth, absolutely, no doubt about that, but there is no evidence to say that argan oil will make your hair grow or make it thicker. It's absolute nonsense. And actually, argan oil, because it has the oleic acid in it, on the scalp, could actually make dandruff worse, because if you already have a relatively like itchy or flaky scalp and then you're putting the oil on it, in the interim it might help soothe, but the transepidermal water loss might be worsened, that will actually make your head more dehydrated, so it could actually worsen dandruff. Jojoba oil I spoke about in my vitamin C video. It actually has the most studies done on it and actually promotes moisturising and barrier repair, like lipid barrier repair. So if I was going to use anything, I would say pick that one up from The Ordinary. That rosehip oil, again, I've seen lots of people speaking about, and I've personally tried this one. It's high in linoleic acid, which is a good thing, and it's high with antioxidant properties as well. It claims to be anti-aging, but I don't actually know why. I don't understand, like I don't know if there's a lot of evidence into rosehip oil being good for anti-aging. People tend to like rosehip oil because it's a slightly more drier formula, so it's not as greasy, it's not as heavy. Personally, I have used this product and I wouldn't buy it again. It was one of the first purchases I picked up from The Ordinary, probably at a time when I didn't really know why I was using oil, if I'm honest with you. But to be honest, I remember when I reviewed it, I was like, to be honest with you, it smells like straight up vegetable oil. Like, it smells more like a cooking oil with a hint of rose in it. The fragrance wasn't the best, but then again, because they don't put like fragrance and all this kind of stuff in their products so much, The Ordinary, you know, it was the natural fragrance of it. I just didn't like it. I just didn't think it was very nice. I found it to be really heavy. I found that whenever I used it with anything else, it meant the products that I was using were pilling up. That could have been down to me not leaving enough time in between, and now I would be more inclined to leave a bit more time. At the time when I tried it, I probably wasn't that aware of it. When I used it by itself, just in the evening, I enjoyed it, but really what was the point in me using it by itself? Yeah, it's got antioxidant properties, but is it penetrating enough to make them do anything? Yeah, it's good for moisturization, but just for like an overnight thing. Like, I had nothing underneath, like I didn't have any hyaluronic acid on under it, so that is absolutely my fault. That is total ignorance on my part when I bought it. But I still don't think I would buy it and try it again. I just wouldn't. I didn't like it. I have tried the virgin marula oil from Drunk Elephant and I really enjoyed that. Would I pay the full price for it? I think because of the controversies around Drunk Elephant and the fact that they are trying to say, like, we've got this virgin marula oil and it is the best. There's nothing about it that makes it any different from any other marula oil. Nothing. So I probably wouldn't pick that up, but I did enjoy it. It's a much finer, like thinner consistency, which I thought was great, but I did enjoy using it. I thought it was really, really nice. And I found it didn't cause pilling or anything if I was using other products along with it. I haven't tried the Ordinary version of the marula oil, but I would be inclined to pick that up to see if it's similar, because I really, really enjoyed the Drunk Elephant one, and I would see if they were similar. I'd really like to try the demi squalene as well, because I've got the retinol and squalene, which I like, but I feel like I would like to try the demi squalene because I'm the biggest oil fan, and the couple that I now go back to every now and again, I quite like this one from Lacura, if I'm honest with you. That's the little rose one. Now, it is fragranced, I'm not going to deny that, and I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. I don't use it every single day. I'll just use it for a bit of facial massage. I do enjoy that one. I like the consistency of it. If I could get something more plain without fragrance in it in that consistency, then I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat. Yeah, but I don't think I will necessarily go rushing to pick up any kind of more oils from The Ordinary. But I might try the demi squalene and I might try the marula oil, but at the moment as it stands, I'm still just really on the fence about them. I'm not sure how I feel. Okay, so that is it for moisturisers, oils, hydrators, things like that. Again, I'm sorry, this will be a slightly lengthier video because I feel like there was a lot to get through. But hopefully it's been useful, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Please let me know below if there's anything I've said that you think is absolute shite and you want to ask about and you're like, well actually I found something different. Please let me know, because I like to learn, I like to know all sides and differences and research and things like that. That would be really, really interesting. Otherwise, I hope you all have a nice day. I'm probably going to go and try and enjoy a little bit of sun now. Alan, hopefully, will get away from work a little bit early, so maybe we'll be able to do something nice. And I'll see you all again in the next one. Bye!